All right, we live once again. Black Eyes TV in the house. Bring you another live installment. Today, yeah, we have the spiritual forces behind Ancestral Voices. Yes, we have the creator in the house. But before we get to him, let me get to my co-host, Mr. Riggs. Speak to the people. Then, where you at?
People. We've got a spiritual night tonight. A one and only, the special night. We're going to go deep into information. We're going to get to understand the spiritualness of the African people, about the African people, where they're from, what we're going to talk about, the information on his DVDs, on his books, and so many other things. But before I go into that, I want to say thank you for the people that have helped out in the situation of finding the missing boy that we was talking about yesterday. And want you to donate, because I'm not going to keep on going until we get all these people donating. As I'm going to talk about the people that have donated to our GoFundMe to make this legacy in the United States of America, New York, Harlem, the Apollo. So let's get this show kicking off and let's start moving.
All right. Without further ado, yeah, tonight we are joined by our own English version of Tariq Nasheed, yeah? Bringing that information in the form of video documentary for you, yeah? Mr. Delon, introduce yourself to the people, yeah? And let the people know who you are. And let's jump straight into your creation, Ancestral Voices.
Yes, peace and blessings, everyone. A big up to Mr. Riggs and Rich, because I know you guys have been doing a lot of hard work. You know, we've known each other for a few years now, so I'm very familiar with the effort and time you put into, getting the information and the knowledge out there. When we're not allowed on the mainstream information outlets, So my name is DALIAN ADOFO. I am a co-director of a series of educational films and literature called Ancestral Voices. It's a production that we've developed, myself and my wife, Verona. For the last roughly 7 years, we've been working actively on it. We released our first documentary called Ancestral Voices, Esoteric African Knowledge in 2011. And last year, in October 2017, we released the sequel to it, which is Ancestral Voices, Spirit is Eternal. And that basically gives a global overview, you can call it a Pan-African overview if you want, of African spiritual traditions, where we document its legacy, going as far back as the times of the ancient Kemethians, down to the present day on the continent, as well as in the diaspora, with legacies such as Candomblé, Santeria, Macumba, all the various expressions of it that we find in the diaspora. So that's a brief background to myself and what I do and continue to do.
So, all right. Now, again, we know at this point in time that you're joining us, you're already on part 2 of Ancestral Voices. Yeah,
that's right.
Let's start at the beginning again, and let's start with the concept. Where did it come from? What was your epiphany moment that made you say, this is important, this is something that I need to do for the community and I need to get out there?
Yeah, well, definitely. The epiphany moment was a conversation between myself and the missus. Yes, at the time when we were both just having a discussion, tracing our different religious and spiritual journeys to that present moment. So this would have been in about 2009 or 2010, where we both came to the realization that, we've actually followed many different religious, spiritual ideologies, but then we hardly found any information about the African spiritual traditions beyond the misinformation that is just juju or obia or something negative. So we felt the need, you know, to also tell the African story, because one of the things that we all know, whether we'd like to admit it or not, is the fact that there's a erasure and whitewash of anything African that has any value or merit. You know, it's only brought to the fore if it can be repackaged and sold as something that has a European origin, really, or an East Asian origin, because those get more accepted. So, in coming to that realization, we decided, you know, what's the best way to counter that? And the best thing was that we put our own skills together and to create something that can counter, or rather, an effective source of origin to what is propagated out there, you know. So my wife has a video production background. I'm also a creative and a teacher as well. So we just put our skills together, and that's what brought about the first educational film, Ancestral Voices, Esoteric African Knowledge, to ensure that we can also have a space in that religious and spiritual discourse.
All right. Go on, Terry.
So yeah. So in asking the question, Dalian, yeah, is in your personal background, I just want to ask to the general public, because you're Ghanaian yourself, yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
And I want you to give us a kind of an insight of your lineage in forms of the Akan people, the Santis, the Afantis, just to give the breakdown of its origin.
Well, you see, what we might term African spirituality, and the reason why I go for the broader term is that when we because this is one of the common mistakes we do, whereby we identify with tribal labels, again, which are largely not of our own making, because as you may be aware, there are even many Nigerians now who dispute many of the terms that we label ourselves with, whether it's Yoruba or Akan or Asante, Fanti, whatever else. What our research have found, and has been proven by, you know, my own even understanding of my own traditions, is that, yep, what we call African spirituality shows that Africans have a common source, because everything that is practiced within the tradition, you find the same across all of them. So it's not even a religion, or even if you want to call it a spiritual system, it's a liberty, it's a way of life. And at the core of all the spiritual traditions, including the Akan, so the Akan have this notion called your Hebre or your Kra, and this translates as your soul destiny or purpose, right? And then you find this notion across the board. The Yorubas call it your Ori. Obviously, you know, we find with the Asian Comedians is known as the Ka. Now, all this has to do with the fact that you, as a physical being, are in this physical realm for a particular reason. And that reason is what we call your destiny. And in achieving that destiny, you create harmony, benefits, and prosperity for others. So it falls back again into that spiritual idea that we largely call Ubuntu. You know, I am because we are, and we are because I am. So this is really the key elements of not only the Akan, but also across the board in all indigenous African systems that you find. Human being is a spirit that comes into a body so it can operate on this plane. And the reason why it's come on this plane is for one purpose only, to achieve that divine purpose. And when your particular incarnation does not achieve that purpose, you can come back again and have another go at fulfilling it. And then that's why we have also the concept of reincarnation. So you can get multiple attempts to perfect your essence, really. The should we say the key elements, and I can go deeper if you know you need
Because I'm doing the personal research, and I'm just trying to find, because we have these little altercations of some people trying to say the Akan people are like in that form of being Hebrews, but as I said, but I'm trying to find where the conversions between Christianity and the traditional African people.
Right. Yeah. You see, I guess what we can find many conversions because, to put it simply, right, as science now proves it, if all humanity stems from Africa, then that means all our original thoughts are still embedded in our psyches, whether we are aware of it or not. So what we might call Christianity or even the gospel of Jesus, again, what was Jesus speaking of? Love thy neighbor as yourself. Is that not even an expression of the same Ubuntu that I just mentioned? I am because you are. This is how you can live as a community. So I think what people are actually trying to do now is they're trying to pick up or pick apart these indigenous concepts and try and present it as if, they're the original, Hebrew Israelites or whatnot. But, anyone really with an ounce of sense can understand that what we call God or term God, this notion, this idea, that is all perfect, all powerful, all knowing, will not make human beings and then choose a particular group only over the others. That's straight discrimination, So that very idea of even having chosen people goes against the very concept of what we might call God, or whether you want to call him, her, it, Yahweh, Allah, whatever appellation you want to give it. We're still referring to one thing, which is, what is the original? Where do the human beings come from? Yeah, we're looking at the ultimate expression of creation. So you can give it any name you want, but you're describing the same idea or concept. And then to pretend that we choose only a particular group over others when it's decided that everything deserves to be in existence, this is the biggest contradiction there ever is. So yeah, that's really all I can say about it. I think, if some of these claims being made, let's not forget, it's not just the Akans who are making these claims. Yes, there's also the Yorubas, there's the Igbos, there's the Shona people in Zimbabwe, and there's quite a few others, quite a few African tribes who are picking particular things that they've always ancestrally done, which fits into the description that we have in, the Abrahamic text, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and say, oh, look, because we have always done this, all of a sudden we're now the original Hebrews. I don't think it works that way, because if the people we now call the Jews, largely the European Ashkenazi sect, if they had chosen, let's say, Uganda, when the British gave them the option of where they should relocate to, and they turned Uganda into the same place that we now call Israel and Palestine, it's that expression of their power that is in my opinion, that is making all these people try and claim a place in this place called Israel. Because had the Jews then decided they wanted to go to Uganda and possibly developed it to the same state as we have Israel now, well, all of a sudden everybody will start saying they come from Uganda? Of course not. People are just trying to align themselves with power. And again, it still reflects the same self-hate, that you're not happy with your own ancestral heritage. You want to fit it somewhere else just because they have maybe nicer buildings or more modern technology. That's my opinion of all these Hebrew claims anyway.
Okay. So let's go into your first DVD and the information that it portrayed on itself. Because a bit later, we're going to do a little bit, we'll show a bit of the trailer of your second part. But let's give the public the generalization of your first DVD.
Okay. So the first DVD, Ancestral Voices, Esoteric African Knowledge, that's one thing and one thing mainly, which is to get people to critique the way they take for granted that African spiritual traditions are supposedly to be about devil worship or juju or obia. Because what we do is through comparative analysis, because this is what's important, right? That we manage to show through that film, we compare ideas that people find in the so-called five established religions, and then show you the same ideas within African spiritual systems. To pose the question to you that if there are all these similarities between these systems, then number one, on which grounds can you say one is evil while the other is good? And number two, if human beings all originate from Africa, as genetic studies prove to us today, then how can you say the child, which is the religion, is bad while the parent from where it came is negative? You know, it's again, we have that whole contradiction going on. So ancestral voices, esoteric African knowledge thing to get people to critique their taken for granted assumptions about what African spirituality is meant to be about.
Okay. Reg, have you got anything that you instigating that you would like to understand or talk about?
Hello. You all right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Sorry, could you repeat that question there for me, Terry?
I was saying that in your understanding of spirituality, is there certain questions that you would like to ask what you've heard so far?
Well, if I had there's a lot of questions I would love to ask right now. As you fully well know, Dalian, I'm starting up a documentary myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Heart, Our Spirit, and it's basically on the same aspect as you. And I must say that you've been a great motivator of my work as well. So
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm glad I could be. Thank you.
When your documentary come out, I was actually doing my degree for film production, and obviously it was grabbing my interest from long time anyway, and I was just looking for the right direction and stuff. But yeah, basically what it is that one of the things that I'm finding on my journey so far while building my documentary is that my thing that I'm seeing is the most common dominator is the heart within the spiritual system. And that's across many boards, whether it's urethra, Kemetic, it doesn't matter. A lot of it comes from the heart. And that's what I'm trying to express within my documentary. So taking parts of your work and then trying to even simplify it even more and making it more on an urban aspects to try and relate it more for the youths that can be like, all right. Yes. So I'm more looking at it from the now to the future. So future anthropology, if you like. So my question is to you is, as from what your research from the past till now, and what would you feel if we all as Afro people, Black people, African people, however you want to title it, would be like in 200 years if we continue practicing our form of tradition and apply it to our everyday lives?
Oh, I think there will be the biggest transformation that you would have seen of African people, you know. Let's not even forget that one of the reasons listed as to why many African kings and queens were so eager to adopt, should we call them foreign religions, was there's a get out clause, you know. And I can only speak directly first from Christianity because I was raised as a Catholic. I can also speak on Islam because I've been a student of Islam at one point in my life. Is that in African traditions, or if you want to call it even nature-centered traditions, you know, because you're connected with nature, there's a, if you want to call it, a direct link between you and things that might be considered natural. So what we might call the natural forces, what people might call Netiru, Obosom, Orisha, Nkisi, Minkisi, list goes on. You'll find that there are certain falsifications that you can't do when you're under these systems. So it holds you to a high moral and ethical standard. Yes? Yeah. Any person that belongs to a shrine house will tell you. You're making up stories, they take you into the shrine, try and make up that lie in there. Chances are you'll be dead.
Yeah.
But, and taking my experience as a Catholic or once upon a time, every Friday I'd go and I'd be confessing to the pastor about the same things that I was doing. That I was stealing people's lunch or doing this, that, and the third. And all he tell me is just say this number of prayers and it's all gone. So straight away, there's no check, so to speak. You get a clean pass to do whatever that you want. So I think we see the same things now where people will do the most devious and evil things to others, knowing fully well that there is that exit pass there. They don't have to have a personal character or behavior check.
Yeah.
Whereas in the traditions, according to the universal law of correspondence, because everything that we see Africans practicing, you can find in what most term the seven universal laws or the seven hermetic principles. Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a correspondence in what you do. So you can do something today and nobody knows, but because there has to be a correspondence that's coming later, something back. Do you understand?
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
will affect you in the same manner. So what we need really, we need African spirituality even more so than now, because what we lack as the African people, as we all know, and was very deliberately done to us, was the removal of our understanding of our cultural heritage and origin. So we don't have a value system. Yeah, nothing checks our behavior to ourselves and to others. So we are randomly doing whatever that we want with no checks and accountability. So if we come into these understandings on a wider scale, we get to understand ourselves better. We get to understand how our behavior might be affecting others also better. And we can hold ourselves to account. Because what's a youth who knows that they've been born in this day and age, maybe because they could be, I don't know, the next Malcolm X, the next Garvey, the next whatever else. Yes, you have the purpose to be here. And your purpose is not to go kill off the next man because he owes you £10 a week that he hasn't paid back. You understand? So our whole, the eyes through which we see the world changes.
Yeah. So do you
and
think
this is why it's important?
So it's best that
brothers, just for me, check your mic, please, Delon. We're getting some interference.
Oh,
Just
okay.
the mic cable piece in. Same thing with you, Red.
All right, hold on.
Mine's cordless. It's cool.
Yeah, let me take mine out of the case and let's plug it back in. Okay, is it better now, Richie?
Yeah, speak now, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. Is it better now?
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit better. There's a little bit of feedback or interference.
All right.
Yeah. What you do is when you talk, Dalian, put your mic on and turn your mic off. When you're speaking.
When I'm speaking.
When you're speaking.
Yeah,
you put the mic on, put it on, and when another person's speaking, you pull it out.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There's an interference going on.
All right, no problem. I'll do that then.
Yeah. Yeah. So
my
next question would have been is a lot of right now we're going through a cusp of change right now. So you agree with that right now, isn't it?
That there's a
cusp of change where a lot of black people are transferring over to their African traditions and finding the African way of life. I don't really like to call it spirituality. It's more of a way of life.
Yeah. No, I know. I can agree. Yeah.
So do you feel a huge part of it is because through my research, it's more about thinking from the heart and feeling with the mind rather than the European way of thinking with the mind and feeling with the heart? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and because one comes from a place of pure logic, whereas the other comes from a place of feeling. And you see, we can. I would actually add to that the place of feeling also even doesn't even negate the mind. Is where the mind and the feeling are balanced that you even find the most. And to be honest, the African system, it also gives that. It's this basis. And I'll give you an example, because it's not something you can go and read in a book and you like all these fancy ideas and it makes you sound intellectual, and that's great, and that's the end. You feel things, and also you experience them. You understand? So you're not pouring a libation where you might not get a sign from nature to confirm for you that the energy you put out into the universe has been, should we say, received, yeah, or has been heard, or has been noticed. So that part of that feeling, because sometimes you might even get a feeling, okay, this morning maybe it's not libation I need to do, maybe I need to go out and put something out under the tree over there. Do you understand? It's almost like an inbuilt radar system, if you want to call it that, yeah, and it guides you on that spiritual journey. So yeah, no, definitely it comes first from, you can call it a place of feeling, or as I kind of feel it, a place of spirit, because spirit is a kind of this intangible energy. Yes, a bit like the air that we breathe. We can't see it, but we can feel it sometimes, and we know it's what nourishes us. Way more than food. You don't have air, you're dead in less than 10 minutes. So yeah, I understand. I definitely agree.
Thank you. I think is it right if I ask one more?
Go true, brother. Go true.
Some people say that they're not Africans. How do we get over this barrier? Do you feel we have to, like, because one thing I found that is universal for whether they say they're African or Caribbean is that we're all Afro people. So would it be a matter of, like, just because obviously words play a big way of on our psyche as well. So would it be a thing of just altering the word slightly, like saying Afro King? Because that's how I titled it. Heart, Thou Spirit, Afro Kings and Queens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it will make a difference, I guess, for the person that claims it and lives it. But on a wider scale, because one of the things that I think we should never always forget out of these discussions is that we live in a system. The very language we're using to communicate now, it's not of our making. Yes. However, it's something that, again, it's allowing us now to have this very important interview and discussion right now. So I think it really, I guess it doesn't matter as much as the person that is using it and how they intentionally use it. If that makes sense, I understand that it gives people a different perspective of how they view themselves. Because there are those who also come with that tired argument of, oh, but how can we all be kings and queens if then who ruled who, so to speak? They'll come out with anything. I think for me really is people trying to play semantics. They're rather discussing around the topic, so they don't focus on the actual topic, which is what that melanin in your skin. Really, it should just remind you of two things. Whether you like it or not, originally you're from that continent that we call Africa. It doesn't matter that today it looks as poor and as barren as everything else, but really, if you rather change your perspective, when you look around you, there's nothing that you see that does not come from that continent. Case in point, the particular technology we're using now. So it really depends on what you're focusing on as your signs of success. Is it the big buildings you like, which then tax you, and now austerity is global, and now people are feeling all of a sudden say, oh, there's something wrong with the system. But there's always been something wrong with the system. It just so happens that you're feeling it now. So the Greek economy that's gone totally, more or less flip-flopped. All of a sudden, people are now realizing, no, hold on a minute, there's a lot of rich people who've been thieving us all the time. But any African is familiar with this thievery because it's been happening for centuries. Yours is not even 50 years old. Yeah, and we've been complaining about the same thing. So I get your point, and I do like it because sometimes, as they say, when you label something, you make it become a thing. Changes people's orientation and understanding. So on that level, I think it's good, but really and ultimately depends on the people who agree to use it and why.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you very much, Dalian.
My pleasure, Rick.
Pleasure
My pleasure.
with you.
Okay. Yes, family. As you know, we are looking for donations, and we keep on talking about these donations because we're going to continue talking about these donations because we want people to able to donate to everything that we're doing, because we do this for the general public and we give you this information, and we're not even charging you or even telling you to subscribe as a form of a payment to get this information. We are putting our feet on the ground and giving you this information. So I'm asking you, and I will put the link in the chat room and on the page of GoFundMe UK USA link up, because we're going to make a legacy in June. I'm looking for at least 20 to 30 people as representatives of the UK to go to this award ceremony in June, which is called the Cyanetta Awards. So we can able to make this legacy. So I'm asking you just to donate even £1, even the money that you're going to go and buy your KFC with, your McDonald's, your Whole Foods, even that little transport that is going to take you on the bus from one end to the other. Just give us that $1 or that £1 to the GoFundMe stroke UK USA link up, because it is vital. We need our media there. We need our head of representatives, so we can all go as one family to join another family across the bridge, because this is about building and becoming one unit. So if you have the opportunity, please donate to the GoFundMe page. So as we are continuing, Dalian, you know you've got the three DVDs. There's a third one. I've not really, you've not really spoken about it, but what is that about?
Okay, so the thing is, we actually have two major DVDs. And really what you're referring to is actually the second. We released a short, but that's only available as a digital download. Okay. And that's called Rituals for Living. And what that is, you can call it, I guess, a mini documentary, because it's only 17 minutes long. But what that focuses on, because you see, one of our purposes or jobs that we took upon ourselves when the first DVD was released was that people kept asking us, okay, so you've broken the spell, if you want to say that, of these foreign ideologies, but then you've left me with nothing to do. I don't know, you know, you've taken away that connection of I guess, feeling something sacred. So we released this 17-minute compilation of rituals from various traditions, from the Zulu to the Dagara to Vodun, that people can actually engage in of their own back, because these are not for high initiates. This is what anybody can do. Yeah, so that was called Rituals for Living. Then Ancestral Voices, Spirit is Eternal, which is the sequel or part 2 of Esoteric African Knowledge, that was released this September 2017. And what Spirit is Eternal does is, it's a global journey. So we traveled to South Africa, Haiti, Brazil, the United States, where we interviewed shamans, academics, and high initiates for aspects, what basically makes up an African spiritual system of practice. So we looked at the philosophies that inform the practices, yes, and we looked at them across the board. And this is where we came to the clearer realization that even what the Asian Comedians were doing over, well, a rough estimate, over 5,000 years ago, in the system that, you know, you might call the Egyptian mystery schools, is the same thing as what today you might find under what you might call Ifa or Yoruba way of life, or spiritual way of life, or even the Akans and their way of life. And we can go as far down the continent as even among the Zulus. So we give you, or Spirit is Eternal breaks down all the elements that make up an African spiritual system. Not just the philosophies, but it also gives you practices that you can actually use in your daily life. Yeah, so it's like an instructional video as well.
Okay. Oh, Richie, while I'm just trying to get the trailer for part 2, I'll need you to continue and ask the questions of what you're talking about.
Listen, D, I know you traveled up and down and far and wide to compile this DVD. Yeah, give us an idea of some of the people that you spoke to and some of the people that people can see in the DVD. Also, giving their knowledge and some of the pools of knowledge that you drew from.
Indeed. Okay. Twofold question. That hopefully I remember the second part. But yeah, the DVD has a illustrious lineup. If I say so myself. We had the two particular cast members who deserve the first mention because they've now joined the realm of the ancestors. The first being Sobon Some, of the world-renowned Malidoma Some, Dagara healer and high initiate. She was an author. She has a long list of books, from ones like Intimacy of Spirit to Welcoming Spirit Home. And she, shared her knowledge on the Dagara cosmology as well as the spiritual system. Then we had Max Beauvoir, who really needs no introduction. Max Beauvoir is the Vodun Pope, as he's known, or Ati. Max Beauvoir also shared his knowledge on Vodun philosophy as well as practices. And we have people who you find in the film 1804, recently released by Tariq Nasheed. So elders like Professor James Smalls, who does an excellent job of sharing his knowledge of the Egyptian mystery schools, the Akan traditions, the Yoruba traditions, because he's initiated in all these traditions. So he has a very in-depth knowledge of them. We also have people like Professor Bayina Bello, Haitian historian and Vodun initiate. We have Dorothy Desir, US-based academic and journalist, also civil rights activist, fights for the emancipation rights of women globally. We also have, last but not least, Credo Mutua, who, many might know from when he, I guess, graced David Icke with one of his first interviews or documentary films, where he was speaking about, interactions with alien entities, and how they relate to African cosmology in that regard. Yeah, there's also the UK zone historian, Robin Walker, who also shares an amount of knowledge on, ideas borrowed from the African traditions and incorporated into the Abrahamic faiths. And lastly, I believe is Dr. Bempa, also based in the UK, a biochemist, but he also gives us some in-depth knowledge of the Akan system. And yes, of course, we also have some Brazilian priests or organ, as they are known, and they also share their knowledge of Candomblé, Umbanda, and sorry. Yes, and then there's also Nana Yabra, Camille Yabra, who's also a US-based academic and creative, and also Jedusa Sarah, who's a spoken word artist and very knowledgeable about spiritual concepts in general. So it's a very illustrious lineup, and the film goes really deep. So it's actually quite a lengthy film, but you will not find anything as yet as comprehensive as this film because of all the various areas that we cover. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet.
Nice.
Harvard agrees with me, SOAS agrees with me, and so does the many people around the world who have been very supportive of our work.
Black Eyes TV agrees with you fully.
Indeed, indeed.
Just to remind the people, go back into the archives. You will find our brother giving us an interview and a little walk around the British Museum. Yeah, that was almost 2 years ago. Coming up to 3 almost, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, since that time. But trust me, it's a class interview. And again, you'll hear the real talk of his journey on how he came about with this concept for African thought in our Ancestral Voices. Yeah, it's a beautiful DVD. You need to go and check it out. And again, I'm hopefully looking to have this product as well in the Black Eye stores. But yeah, watch this space. Hopefully I will be offering that also. Terry, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna give them DALIAN, I'm gonna give it in the 15 minutes one so that everyone can have a 15 minutes break.
Yes, okay, yep, the sneak preview. Excellent. Okay.
So I will play that. So I need everyone to mute their mics so we don't have no interference.
All right.
All right.
Across all African communities, spirituality is at the core of their existence. It permeates every aspect of life and is
changes the appeared belief in a made God, side by side with the female. The concept of God, the concept of the Creator, the concept of is there such a thing as the Creator is Terry, a big question.
Yeah.
Brother. Go back to share.
Because Africa is the place where the human race originated, Africa would also be the place where the very first discussions about what is God's, goddess, creation, was there ever such a thing?
Not letting me do it.
That would be the first place where that discourse would happen. Now, the scholar that's advanced the discussion
not letting me do it
was Professor Charles S. Finch, who is a medical doctor, but he's also wrote something called Echoes of the Old Darkland. And in that book, when we're looking at origin, evolution of the concept, it wasn't originally God.
Hold on. Just leave the sound for now.
And these goddesses were not based on women. They were based on animal types. Some people call them zoo types, right? And you had images such as the pregnant hippopotamus, large and impressive, and pregnant because she's about to give birth. And this idea of being about to give birth is creation of new life.
The mother was the creatress before there was belief in a made creator. That is what the stories say. Before there was a father God, there first came a mother God who gave birth to the father God.
According to Dr. Finch, all the images of the creator came from nature. The moon became important because the lunar cycle of 29.5 days is connected to the woman's menstrual cycle, which is also of the same length. So the moon was associated to be female. So essentially the elemental power of night and darkness, sun and moon, these became important as well. Then you've got the tree being an important symbol, because the tree with its fruit, the tree as a symbol of protection, this is now sustenance and so on. Again, this was associated with the goddess. Now at a later date, we get the evolution of male deities. And this is when humanity rose to a position where people understood that males and females are important, just as important in the whole concept of reproduction.
And we know that God is the one who gives food to all that exists in the universe. So in the sense, we call him generally Papa Bon Dieu, meaning Papa God, the Papa Almighty God. However, when things go bad for us and we are in problems and things of that sort, we know that who we call is Bon Dieu Mama Moi. That means God who is my mother. So in fact, this is the way approach of the Voodoo people toward that Almighty that we know, that we believe is a feminine figure. Because in our vision, life can only come from a woman. God for us, the image we have of God is one, a woman.
I can't view all creation as reflection of God. We start by, our creation story starts by saying God created a thing, singular, a thing, no things. This is another way of saying that God willed and became. In the becoming mode, he assumed energy. So you have wisdom, God, and energy. Of course, matter is congealed energy. So human being is matter and divine spirit. The body is the matter, and all created things disintegrate. But the divine aspect of man lives on forever. It's immortal. When we say assassin, we are acknowledging the bounty of God. The earth, trees, vegetables, shelter, and everything else we need. So when you call us here, we are acknowledging the bountifulness of the divine, not a spirit living in the way. When we call upon the trees give us seeds, food, and shelter. So again, it's acknowledging the bountifulness of God. We call on the river, you get fish from the river, you get water from the river, to wash and drink. Again, it's a manifestation of God, which we acknowledge. So the Akan prayer, all his activities, is a prayer to God.
Our world is not a one-fold way looking at the spirit world. And that's why we have many, many different spirits. And each one of these spirits have a specific function. And so we don't have a one-fits-all. Each spirit comes in and plays a particular function in your life that is not like the other spirit involvement in your life. And so that the nature spirit function is to basically help you through the different crossroads in your life, to help you unstuck yourself and to help you expand in some ways that you can embrace what lies ahead of you. And the fire spirit role is to basically help you be inspired. And we all know without inspiration, nothing works in this world. And so when the fire spirit shows up in your life and ignites your whole life, that we call it that I am on fire, that fire is not to be used in a destructive way, but that it is to be used in a way that enables it to help you connect to your spirit and to connect to all the different spirits out there, so you can have more alliances in being able to achieve your purpose and so forth.
A natureza, para nós do Candomblé, todo mundo cultua a natureza. Porque nós cultuamos o quê? As árvores, cultuamos a água, cultuamos os fenômenos da natureza, como o trovão, o relâmpago, as lagoas, o mar. E cada um dessas coisas que eu falei tem um orixá que protege. Tá entendendo? Então, para nós, nós que somos a religião que mais protege a natureza e que é mais ligada à natureza, porque sem a natureza a gente não pode fazer nada. Porque toda a nossa cultura é em cima da natureza. Entendeu?
A big part of our tradition is what the West call deities or gods. What the Akans call Obusun, and the Yorubas call Orisha, and the Voodoo of Haiti called Lowa, and the people in ancient Kemet call Netu. And what they're talking about is the forces of nature, what we call in this society laws of physics. What we're calling our deities or our forces of nature are powers that exist in nature and in all the plants and elements and animals of nature. But these forces also exist in each human being. They also exist in the greater cosmos. They also exist in every cell in the human body. They also exist in each organ in the human body. They also exist as a process in each system in the human body. We have the respiratory system. We have the blood system. We have the lymphatic system. We have the digestive system. These are systems in the body that works according to certain rules and principles that have certain powers. And these systems, the respiratory system and the digestive system, they all interact with each other.
In the Voodoo Pantheon, we have what we call Wa, Olwa. They are spiritual masters. They are our teachers. There are vast categories of Wa. Some of the principal ones are Ogun, Ezuli, Gede, Dama, Sobo. There are a number of spirits that Africans brought with them from places like Benin, Dahomey, from Nigeria, Yoruba land, Igbo land, from Angola, from Senegambia, from all these places. We brought these traditions with us to the Americas. It's broken down in categories in IT that does not exist in Saint Dahomey or in Benin. It's broken down in ways that it doesn't even exist in Brazil. We have Rada spirits, which are the older, cooler spirits of Africa. But we also have the petrol spirits, and the petrol spirits and energies were born here in the Americas. They were born here because, again, part of our work is this act of remembrance. It's this act of remembrance. It is also about maintaining space and territory. If we're constantly being cut down, if we're constantly being killed, if we're constantly being tortured, we are not in a position to serve as the instruments of the law.
So our understanding of nature and how nature works allow us to create these things we call deities and orishas. These things are concepts, ideas, and principles that cause certain forces in nature to animate. Through studying our religion, we see how these things animate in nature. Then we learn to use them to cause them to animate within our own self, starting with our personality to ethical moral training, then to have them by changing your behavior, your belief, your attitude. You also then introduce these forces to the very molecular cellular structure in your body, because those things cause changes in your body as well, based on the same forces. So that's what deities are, and that's what forces of nature is.
The Lwa, the Orisha, Inkisi, Vodou, all the names that we call our spirits by, all of the manifestations of God, teach us to be our own masters. Our own masters. They teach us to be self-sufficient. They teach us to be administrators and governors of our own destinies. These are basic notions that actually have extreme importance and extreme value in the 21st century.
The forces of nature are therefore archetypes of knowledge representing aspects of ourselves and our connection with the Creator. They reflect the interconnection between all things, as all originates from the same source. Ultimately, they remind us of our inherent power, and by studying them in more depth, we learn how to manifest our God consciousness to attain our divine purpose on earth.
Campo chora, e a Fabi do campo chora,
Segura a onda. Segura a onda. Okay, family. As you can see, we try to play the video, but we got the volume and the voice and the information. So everyone can take their mutes off the mic. Has everyone taken their mutes off the mic?
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So Dalian, as we couldn't get the video, but we got the gist of the sound of what was going on. Sure. Send the link into the chat room so that people can check it out, so they can check it out on the website. But I just want you to give us the full demonstration of what that part 2 is about.
Yeah, you know, as you know, people go. It's actually online on YouTube for free, so all listeners can just, all they have to do is type in any search engine, Ancestral Voices 2 Sneak Preview. That's Ancestral Voices, the number 2 Sneak Preview, and the link will come up.
Daniel, WhatsApp that to me right now, so then I can put it into the chat.
Okay, yeah. Let me try and yeah. Bear with me. Yep. I'm listening to you now. Coming up.
The mic is a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, because I'm trying. Oh gosh. Yeah. That's it. I'm trying to find your number to type. Hold on, it's coming, and then please put that in there, please. As you can tell, me and technology are not the best of friends, especially not on my phone. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. So anyway, back to your question, right, Mr. Riggs? What you know, don't ask people who go and see, and I'm sure they can tell from the overall overview. You know, you could tell different speakers coming from different backgrounds.
Try and fix that mic.
Okay, hold on. Is it better now? Yeah, sorry, it wasn't actually plugged in. Is it better now?
Hold on, it's calming down, but
is it better now?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, yeah, as you can already tell, you know, it's wide ranging, and again, as I said, the premise that we had with this film was, once we started our research deeply, what we started noticing was the commonalities across all of them. Yeah. And so what we did is we selected and focused on these elements, because we found out that these are the elements that, in a sense, are the skeleton to the spiritual framework. Yes. So, you know, we looked at the conceptions of what we call the creator or the creative source, what it is that brings us all into being. And, you know, as you may have gathered from the little that you heard there, in the African systems, there is actually the understanding or knowledge that what we might call God or the creator is actually not an entity or a single being, that is actually a process of coming into being. Yeah, so that's one of the, should we say, the biggest disparity between that understanding and then the understanding that has, if you want to say, has been constructed by man for the benefit of man. You know, we also look at what they call the natural forces or the natural energies, because this is also one of the areas that has been largely used to demonize African spirituality. They talk about Africans have all these idols or fetishes and whatnot, but no practitioner or initiate of the systems knows these things as idols or fetishes or whatever else you want to call them, because they know them as the forces that we find in nature. So, you know, that we can associate what we call Tanda with a Yoruba deity known as Sango or Shango. You again have to look beyond the surface. So, you know, Shango might be depicted as this man with the axe, and the axe is, you know, what he controls the Tanda with. But then when you look at it on a symbolic level, and you go deeper into the archetype we call Sango, you can see two things. First, dealing with the principle of justice, because that double-edged sword represents that dichotomy in our existence, yes? And then also you can see that when you have a lightning flash, it illuminates the whole area within which you find that stripe. So really, what we're calling Sango is not some man sitting in some obscure place with an axe, but you're dealing with principles of justice, yes, of balance, and also of bringing forth knowledge that enlightens people, in quite simply put. Do you know what I mean? So this is, we want the documentary to allow people to go deep and get the real understanding as to what the African philosophical thought is. We look at also things like rituals, and what underlines rituals, the philosophies, and again, as I said earlier, you can find that ritual practice is directly informed by what is largely known as the seven hermetic principles or laws, you know. And then again, we couldn't leave off the film without discussing why is this still stigmatized? Why is it that you cannot find accurate representations of African spirituality, even though we live in a time that people are calling for religious tolerance? You know, the tolerance only seemingly applies if you're of an Abrahamic faith origin. You know, so that is a kind of quick, broad overview of the film. As I said, the film is nearly 2 hours long. We had to chop it down from over 12 hours of interviews to try and make it. We tried to even get it to an hour and a half, but you know, some information we can't keep because we felt it was vital to understand it. So the whole film is over an hour and 45 minutes, but it's an hour and 45 minutes of mind changing, paradigm changing information that really you will never hear anywhere else. You know, we have to go places that people will normally go, like sleeping close to the Kalahari Desert, spending the time in the middle of, you might call it nowhere in Brazil, town, obscure town, somewhere in the mountains, just to get access to this knowledge that has been retained over centuries. You know, so yeah, but we felt it necessary.
Okay, you know the link that you sent me. What website would it be? Would it be Ancestral Voices?
No, it will be on YouTube. It's a free preview.
So they got to your YouTube site.
Yes, they just have, you type that in, it will bring up the YouTube link automatically.
Okay then.
Yes.
Okay. Now, go on, Richie.
All right, listen. Again, just a quick note. Big up to the chat room. Big up to our regular listeners. Adam, Ricardo, Ben. You what, mate? KS. Yeah, big up to all of the people tuning in, making the shows what they are. Lady Ace, big up. Tell the Truth, Shame the Devil, big up. Yeah, always tuning in, always supporting the show. Remember, if you have any questions, please pop them in there. If we can fit them in, we'll try to. We heard some of the video, them talking about the female aspect in their understanding of God.
Yeah.
And we know, you know, in Kemetic science, some of the earlier thought patterns when it came to thinking of this source was mother and breast, child and breast, and mother and child. So speak on that a bit, because obviously in the modern day religions, we know it's very much a male-driven thing. You know, God,
that's right,
Son, Spirit, it's all masculine. So talk to us about the feminine energy and aspects of the spirituality that you came across when traveling across Africa.
Well, the should we say the feminine representation? Because bear in mind, as much as you see a woman, we're not talking gendered forms. Yes,
definitely.
We're talking about feminine principles, because what you might call the human being has those two aspects to it. You know, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, the hot and the cold, the spirit and the body. Yeah, air and earth. You can find many representations of these archetypes. Now, one of the key reasons, and this is why you find that the African traditions, as Brother Reds was implying earlier when he asked me what good can it do in the modern day for the quote unquote urban kind of community, or people, if you want to call it that, is that representation you see reflects what we're all capable of, that we're all creators in our own right. Yes, it speaks to our ability to create that which we will. Yeah, for those of you who are familiar with that, that's exactly what that is representing. And my earlier point about the creator being the process of coming into being. Yes, the earliest Kemetic story that we have, when the masculine aspect of what we call God comes into being, known as Amen-Ra. You know, most Christians say Amen every time they pray, and they don't even know they're referencing an African God concept, if you will, yeah? Because Amen-Ra is that first masculine representation. But Amen-Ra says he comes from his mom, Nun, which is the primordial waters. So already you can see those dark primordial waters being representative of perhaps the darkness you find in the womb as a child. Yes, and then the Amen-Ra now becomes the physical child as it comes out of its mother into the physical reality. Yeah, but then on a certain other level too, that representation of the
interference again, brother.
Oh, okay. Because it keeps touching my.
The signal's just breaking down slightly a bit.
Okay, so is it better now?
Yeah, the mic noise is just calming down. That's it. All right, go on, brother.
Okay. Yeah. So on the other level, apart from us, talking about the representation being that of childbirth or coming into being, is that we find that principle reflected when you come into ritual practice. And again, I go and I'll pick the word of, what's the name again? That you can manifest that which you will. Because what we call the human will or the human spirit is capable of bringing forth things into the physical reality. And, a kind of basic example of that. Everything you see around you, where does it start from? It starts from your mind. So you can see your mind as a womb, if you will. Yeah? It's the place where you're pregnant with ideas. And then you can bring forth those ideas into your physical reality. And the process that you use to, if you want to call it, charge yourself up or energize, is through what we call ritual. And ritual can be a range of many different practices. Again, to achieve many different ends. So you can have rituals for healing, you can have rituals for manifestation, you can have rituals for cleansing, just about any function that you need in your social context, there is or can be a prescribed ritual to help you achieve that end. So this is where, or the importance of that principle of the feminine, this is where you find its usefulness across the traditions. That we're all created. Basically, you are God,
Most definitely. Personification, reflection eternal.
That's it.
Yeah, me. Listen, people, remember the show, the spiritual forces behind Ancestral Voices. Yeah, this has been a close quarters conversation with the maker of Ancestral Voices, Mr. DALIAN. Yeah, giving us the inside scoop, what inspired him, um, what his journey was like, and some of the information that he got. But remember, go out there, support him, purchase it, purchase and support future works as well coming from his camp. And again, go back into the Black Eyes TV archives, and you will also see a nice exclusive interview with him and his wife, talking about their collective experiences while making it, and stuff to do with their own relationships. The same rituals that he talks about, being there for everyday purposes. Him and his wife go into that. They talk about things that help them in their tough times as well as their happy, and ups and downs in their everyday hectic work schedule, as filmmakers and documentary makers. So yeah, again, go and check that out. Go and support our brother.
Okay. Just want to.
What was you going to say?
If I can just add, then, Brother Terry, because I'm mindful of the time.
I just want to announce. I just want a quick announcement of people that have donated to our GoFundMe. Is that thank you to Jennifer Davison, John Robertson, Glenda Jones, Adam Bansu, Tony Mason. These are people that have donated to GoFundMe. So we're asking others to able to donate as much as possible, because this is a legacy in June. So I let you fire it away.
That's all. That's all. Again, DALIAN, before you go, I know you need to get out early, and we talked about that. So before you go, and we'll continue the conversation just for a quick moment with our compadre Reds. But before you go, let the people know where they can find you, and where you're going to be appearing next.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for that, Richie. Our website is basically the 3 W's .ancestral voices, all one word. ancestralvoices.co.uk. And that's basically our website. On there you can find all our products, the films and the book that we released. Well, now books, because we have a Spanish translation coming out for US Black History Month this year. Also this year, one of the things we're moving forward with are actual workshops. We have a series of workshops called Living an African Spiritual Centered Life, where we go deeper and more physical, because it's in a physical space, about the philosophies and how you can see them manifest in your life. Physical. These are the range of forums or workshops that we're going to be starting or continuing this year. We had one last year, oversubscribed. We couldn't fit everyone in, but this year we're rolling them out again. And yes, look out also for this year. We'll be trying to get Dr. Baina Mello from Haiti to at least come and have an audience with people in the UK. Yeah, so there's also that to look out for. But basically, everything's on our website, ancestralvoices.co.uk. Just go on there, keep updated, because we constantly have something else going on. So once again, big up and a big thank you to Black Eyes 7. You guys keep doing the work that you do. From a personal perspective, we know it's not easy, but hey, you know what? As we say, nothing good comes easy. So don't let the down moments get you down, because the only way then to go is up. Yeah. So big up Mr. Riggs, big up Richie, and big up Brother Red.
All right, brother. All right. That mic is kicking in again, but it's cool. Hopefully you'll join us again soon, bruv. Take care of yourself, yeah? We will speak.
Yes.
Salute, brother. Salute. Salute.
Many blessings.
Yes. We shall talk again soon, brother. Yeah?
Most definitely.
All right.
Peace.
Yes.
Yeah. People. I hope you enjoyed the information. As we go again, I'm asking you to able to donate to our situation for the GoFundMe USA UK link up. As I will put it in one more time, and you will see on the top of the profile to able to fund us so that we can show you things like this, show you things in the United States, show you things around the world. We need to take our full media to the United States, plus people that are willing to come. So we are asking you to donate, even if it's that extra £1, $1, whatever it is that can take and help us get to where we need to be. So, as I said, we've got many things coming on board. A lot of things are coming about. But the one thing is we want to understand is please donate to our GoFundMe. Now, next chapter is Thursday. Thursday, we're going to have a big discussion with the one and only true historian at 10 p.m., 5 p.m. American time. So it's going to be a big topic that we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about all the way from the Black Presence to the King James, from the King James to the trade lines. And we're going to break it down to its core. It's going to be an explosion. So people, watch out for this Thursday.
Reds.
Yes, family.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there, brother. Taking in the show, man.
Listen,
taking in the show.
Listen, it's your time now. Like, let me just get into you now. For the people, yeah, again, Reds is a friend now who joined the Black Eyes TV team. He's cameraman. He does all sorts of things. And he's also a documentary maker. So again, Reds, talk to the people. This is your time now. Show the people about this documentary, what it's about, what you're trying to achieve with the documentary, and where they can find it. Yeah, me. And again, for anybody that doesn't know, if you want to see a bit of Reds, look on the Black Eyes TV channel. Yeah, you will see him. Also, go to 3 Souls. Yeah. What is it? What's the full title, Reds?
Yeah, it's TV 3 Souls.
TV 3 Souls. That's it.
Yep, that's 3RESOULS. TV 3 Souls.
Yeah, go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, and you can get a preview of some of his works that he's done. But yeah, Reds, talk to us about the documentary. What is it about and what you're trying to achieve with it?
All right. With the documentary, as you know, it's a big process, so I've still got quite a bit of work to do. But to narrow it down, basically what I'm aiming to do is do the first series. It's going to be a 10-episode series. It's titled Heart Thou Spirit, Afro Kings and Queens Unlocking the Afro Minds. Basically, with the documentary, I'm looking into like how can you look at it, like anthropology and future anthropology, if you like. So I'm looking at the state of now till 200 years in the future. So what I'm looking at is how we are in the urban places right now, taking on board African spirituality and the effects it can have on us within, if we continue this practice and pass it on through our generations and things, what we can end up being like, the possibilities, quote unquote, in 200 years. So yeah, I'm looking at the future anthropologic mind state of the Afro mind. So that's the point of the documentary, and also connecting the key factor through all of the spiritual practices in Africa, which is the heart, which I mentioned earlier with Brother DALIAN. So yeah, that's it in a kind of a nutshell.
All right. When this thing comes out, yeah, bro, where can people find it? Where are you looking to push it?
At the moment, we're gonna look to have a private screening for the first episode, because each episode we're aiming for 45 minutes. But as you well know, with DALIAN one, he said he had 12 hours of footage, and well, it's all about narrowing down the footage really. And I want to try and get as much people featured in it, and not only from the UK. I want to visit Africa as well, which I'm lining up a few people. A few of my contacts are trying to line up a few people for me right now. So I'm just waiting for the outcome for that. Like I said, yeah, it's a process, and we're just looking to hear it out in the cinemas privately at first, then on release on Netflix, see how it works from there.
All right. And again, we know you make music videos as well, so tell the people where they can find you on that front.
Okay, yeah. If you I've been making quite a few music videos. Put out a couple promo videos on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. One via Skipper that's called Babylon Yard. Getting a good reaction from the promo videos thus far, so people can't wait for the full vid. Another one called Always on My Mind. That's from Lopez. Yard English. I saw them say they locked this, and that's a tune about young ones basically not listening to their parents. So the track is basically informing parents like to guide your youths in the right direction before they end up in the wrong direction, as we full and well know what's going on in the urban cities today, worldwide at that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you can find all of that on my YouTube channel. Once again, TV Free Souls. You can find us on Facebook, Free Souls Productions, Instagram, Free Souls, and also on Twitter, which is free_souls. For some reason, they wouldn't give it to me without the underscore. So yeah. But that's where you can find me and all my productions that I've done thus far. And yeah.
All right. Listen, people, again, it's all about trade. It's all about the Black Eyes TV logo. Yeah, support your black media. Support your black filmmakers and directors. Yeah, that's the point out here. The same way you've heard of Hidden Colors, same way now you know about Ancestral Voices. Go out there, get it, purchase it. The same way now you're also hearing about Heart Thou Spirit. So watch this space for that as well. Yeah, support our black media. I cannot say enough. Yeah, we can have all sorts of revolutions going on, but without the arts, it's gonna be a very dull story. Yeah. So remember, support people.
Yeah.
Riggs. Yes. Greetings, family. Once again. As I will always go back, because I am very adamant. Stop buying the Kentucky. Stop buying the McDonald's. Take that little change. Buy a Pro Bill. And with the remaining change, please donate. All it takes is a $1, a £1, a $5, a £5. And just donate to our GoFundMe UK USA link up. That's all I'm asking. Because for us to able to grow so that we can provide to pay people to able to work with us to provide jobs, and to able for us to make and create a community. This is about unification. This is 2008. We're taking no nonsense and no prisoners. We are moving forward. So, as I always say, buy black, be black, live black, always be black. Because you've got black running through your veins. So, as you are black people, I love you lots, and I'm just asking you to donate as much as you can. But this is our time, this is our place, and it's time for the takeover. It's a new beginning. Hashtag power moves.
Most definitely, people. Listen, this has been another Black Eyes TV production, yeah? Look at the logo. You know what time it is, yeah? Peace, people. Peace.
Bless up.
Hashtag power